Welcome back, everybody. This is Travis from Bigfoot Diaries. We're here with another installment in the chapters. We are talking about today our first and ever interview with a skeptic. So, here with me, I have Jennifer.
Hello.
And this is, of course, my fiance, whom I was with, if you saw my last upload. When I met her was in Colorado, and of course, one of the things you have to break to him is, I'm a Bigfoot hunter. It's kind of one of those important things, on the road to, you know, a life together, or whatever. So, of course, when I broke the news, she was a little understanding, which is great. A lot of people either call me crazy or they call me crazy, so, to kind of get at least an understanding open mind was pretty good. So basically, this is going to be a new thing that I do called a podcast, which I'm sure you've heard of, where if you're riding around the car or something, whatever, you can listen to her tale of how she went from kind of on the fence to maybe a believer, I guess. We'll find out. Since she's been to Oklahoma, twice? And yeah, we had some stuff go down, so I guess I'll start off the line of questioning with, so before I ever walked into the picture, what was the first time you heard about Bigfoot, and what was your thoughts up until me?
Oh gosh. I had heard of Bigfoot when I was like a little kid, but it was kind of like the Loch Ness Monster in a way. But like, I guess the Loch Ness Monster I kind of believed in. It just seemed because I actually kind of believe some dinosaurs still exist. But Bigfoot just seemed like this big, hairy ape kind of creature. I really didn't know much about Bigfoot except that, like, he looked like a big, hairy ape, and I thought, well, apes don't live in America, like, they're not native to that. So I kind of did dismiss Bigfoot, I guess. It just seemed more like myth than, like, actual fact. It just seemed more like a story to entertain people with just, like, folklore, just to, like, I don't know.
Right, and I totally agree. I, of course, was more excited about this myth/legend whenever I first heard about it and was growing up watching a lot of Bigfoot programs on television. However, one interesting fact that some people may or may not know is, yeah, Bigfoot or apes are not native, of course, to North America, yet a lot of people are suspicious about the fact that a lot of Native American totem poles include an ape-like figure or creature / face, and, well, how would they know what it looked like, or an ape looked like, if they've never seen one before?
Yeah, and when you first told me that, like, I didn't know that. That was just, like, a random fact. I was like, oh, that is kind of weird. Okay.
So, anyways, moving on from that, now after I told you, did you think I was a complete loon?
No, I remember having seen, I think I saw, like, the Bigfoot sticker on your car. I think, yeah, like the I believe, because, yeah, I can't remember if I saw that first or afterwards, but I just remember when you first told me, yeah, I believe in Bigfoot. It's kind of my thing to go look for Bigfoot, back at home. I go to Oklahoma. I've seen Bigfoot, and I just was, it did take me back because I had never met anybody that actually believed and hunted kind of like Bigfoot, like, and had seen, like, I was just like, okay. But because I try to be kind of open-minded and I feel like I believe a lot of weird things, or, I kind of am at this point where anything can happen. I guess I was like, I don't, like, I took you at your word. Like, if you've seen okay, like, I can try.
Well, I didn't exactly see. I mean, I did see things through the trees, particularly glowing eyes, and have recordings of howls and rocks thrown at me and stomps and all kinds of other things, which you can find on my channel if you haven't seen it already. But
yeah, so I didn't think you were crazy, though.
It was enough definitive proof for me in order to conclude that there is a Bigfoot, and there's a lot of them in Oklahoma. Just, I'm the only one that's allowed to go there and hunt for them, so nobody else can. So, anyways, so I did end up taking her to Oklahoma to see for herself. Now, the first trip, of course, we made. Now, obviously, when you're Bigfoot hunting, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. is what some people would say. I actually say that you're looking for a piece of hay in a needle stack, and the needle stack is moving constantly because it's a very painful process. Now, where I go has kind of eliminated a lot of the looking part of it, but I did take her there, and yeah, nothing happened that first night, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was really quiet, and yeah, that happens quite a bit.
It was spooky too. It was just you and me in the woods.
Yeah, it gets really dark in the woods, and of course, when you're anticipating sounds and something being around, yeah, it can kind of get kind of sketchy. Uh, uh,
I was gonna say, and that's the thing, is even though I wasn't a believer yet, like I was like, I believe you. I was excited, but also a little bit scared to go to Oklahoma because I was like afraid. I had seen some of your videos and listened to other people's Bigfoot experiences, so I was kind of like actually preparing myself to see Bigfoot.
right, and some evenings, yeah, it's quiet. They're moved off in a different area or whatever the case may be. This has happened to me before. I went with my friends Ted and Chelsea. That story is on my channel somewhere. I think it's like chapter 6 or 5. But I took them there the first night we were there. I mean, howls. We had rocks thrown at us. The whole night was just insane with activity. And of course, the next night we're all prepared, ready for the excitement, and it's quiet. So it just really depends on the night. The feel of the woods. Usually, if you hear more animals in the woods, that's usually a good sign. So, anyways, we didn't have any activity that night, but we did come back a few days later, and now that night was a completely different story. And that's just how it is. Now, the thing is, I could tell it was going to be a good night because when we walked down into the woods, first thing, of course, that happened is a deer jumped out and scared the hell out of you.
Yes. Oh, it was because I was like in the woods, and I was just like all of a sudden this deer just like darts out in front of the path, and to me it scared the life out of me.
I was like, it's just a deer. It's not a Bigfoot. But
spooky.
deer. There was cows kind of moving in the distance. There's just a lot of noises of animals, and when there's a lot of animals active and out and about, that's usually a good sign. Of course, once night kind of started to come in, that's when it started to get a little bit more hectic out there. We did hear some vocalizations, and I think at the beginning we heard something that like it sounded like a coyote, but it was not a coyote. It definitely was not.
I didn't know what it was, but we had heard coyotes, and then we heard this one noise where it was just like, is that a bird or is that no? We couldn't figure out what it sounded like though, and I was.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Well, we heard the coyote, but we also heard something that sounded like I think it was an owl, wasn't it? We heard something that was almost like it sounded like it could have been an owl, but it sounded like something mimicking an owl. And in fact, a lot of people say that Bigfoots tend to mimic other animals in order to mask their vocalizations, especially when people are around. Of course, once it got a little darker, we did finally. This was, of course, mid-October, so out there in the woods, the trees are still full of leaves, and it kind of makes it hard to see through the trees. So if anybody doesn't know or isn't aware, a little scientific fact about Sasquatch is that their eyes glow at night, and they can kind of turn it on and off like a fish, in the ocean that can kind of light themselves up. Don't know how it works. A lot of people are like, well, they're nocturnal, but how do they see at night? Because they're supposedly closely related to humans or whatever. But yeah, if you go out in the woods and you're really paying attention and you go in the right spot, like I have, you see their eyes glow, and it's really kind of the craziest thing ever.
It is.
So it wasn't until, of course, with all the, the leaves on the trees, it's kind of harder to see. But if you really focus in on certain areas, you know something's moving. You can hear little footsteps. You can hear branches crunching. But yeah, we were able to see the eyes, and when in my Bigfoot hunting career, it wasn't until way into it that I first saw the eyes, and I saw multiple pairs through the trees, and was like, whoa! It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, because I haven't seen that before. Now, of course, this is the first thing she starts off seeing.
Right,
and it's crazy.
It really was crazy. I mean, it was just like, all of a sudden, it's like I see these eyes, and there's multiples of them, and they're not the stars, because by then the stars are out, but these lights are moving and you can almost like see them peeking out from behind the trees and stuff. And Travis is like, "That's their eyes, that's their eyes," and you just see these like things walking around. It was just like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was just the weirdest thing.
Right, and that's kind of what happened to me. Is that am I really looking at this
Yeah,
now?
like what the heck?
For extra, I guess, confirmation about this, what we're seeing, my brother was also there, and my brother likes to kind of pull my chain, like, you sure somebody's not standing out there and fooling around, blah blah blah. Well, my brother came this time, and he saw it too and heard everything, and he
Right.
told my sister, he's like, okay, if she didn't come, but my sister, he's like, I'll text you and call you if this stuff is real. But if it's real, like, I'm gonna let you know. I'm not gonna pull your chain. And yeah, he did while we were out there. Like, call her, Kristen. Yeah, this is real. This isn't a joke. Like, we're hearing sounds I've never heard before, and I've been in the woods half my life and seeing eyes and seeing this and seeing that. Like, this is no joke. And so yeah,
That was so funny when he did that too. I mean, he was like we were all just kind of like getting our heart rate was beating, and he was just kind of like, "I'm sorry, I'm just kind of stressed," and he just had to like call somebody.
Yeah, it gets quite spooky out there at night. And anyways, at one point while we were standing there, if you go to my last video, you can actually hear it. It sounded like almost kind of like a bird sound, but
Yeah,
it wasn't.
that was-
It definitely wasn't a bird, and it was kind of moving around us. But you could also hear like slight noises in the brush. That was like, okay, there's something that's kind of circling us. So there was definitely quite a few Sasquatch out there, definitely, in my opinion, of course. And then we decided to kind of head back to camp. And on the way back, when we got up to a road, it just kind of, you could hear sounds coming from where we just were. And we also heard this other sound. It sounded just like, almost like, you stepped on a cat's tail, but it was just like a really big cat, because it was like this or whatever.
That was really weird.
And it was just like,
just like started walking faster, like, okay, let's get out of here.
And I've never heard that sound before. I mean, I've been in Oklahoma quite a bit. I know kind of a few of the animals that are native there, but like, these are just sounds you don't hear every day in the woods. These woods in particular just are alive. Now, of course, the one thing we also saw that is really hard to explain. I don't want to get into the like paranormal or anything like that, but we did see kind of like an orb of light on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw these little lights appearing and then disappearing. Like, and I was like, look at that. And as soon as everybody would look, I was like gone. It was just like they appeared so fast. But yeah, your brother saw them at one point, and after what you had told me, like about the little people like appearing, I was just like, I don't know what it was, but yeah, there was like these little glow lights appearing on the ground, and there was like multiples of them. Sometimes there'd be like one or two, but it was just like they'd be there and then they disappear.
Right, and these definitely weren't fireflies.
No, yeah, because I lived in the South and we have a lot of fireflies there. I know what they look like. So it wasn't a firefly.
Yeah, so we didn't really know exactly what that was. Now, one of the times I had went, there was a few people seeing lights on the ground. In fact, I've seen it before. The gentleman I was with was like, made a joke like, oh, maybe it's the little people, which is a myth about, people who come out of the ground at night with little lanterns to kind of forage. And so, yeah, we saw some weird lights, but it's the one thing about the woods out there at night. There's just, it just gets crazy. There's a lot of weird stuff that you're just like, what is this? And hard to explain.
And that's the thing, is when you're alone in the middle of the woods at night in an unfamiliar area, your imagination does kind of get to you a little bit.
Right. But see, it's not unfamiliar to me because I've been there 100,000 times. So seeing and hearing this stuff isn't surprising to me. It's not really unfamiliar. It's just like, it's still, whenever stuff starts happening, you're just like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, half the world thinks this is just some silly hoax, but
I know.
But yeah, we did walk back over to camp, and yeah, we still kind of heard a few vocalizations coming from where we were at, and it was just like, okay, there's definitely some out there. Now, we didn't really go back into the woods again, but I think it's conclusive to say you kind of went from, nah, I'm on the fence, to, yeah, there's something out there.
Yes, definitely. There was definitely more than something out there. There were like multiple things out there, and that's the thing, is it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before. Like I know it wasn't like a cow or like a bird. I don't know what it was, but whatever was out there, it was definitely like paying attention to us, looking back at us, just kind of in a way interacting with us. But I almost feel like they were more curious about us than we were them, But
Right,
yeah,
which, yeah, it's usually said that Bigfoots are very curious. So, yeah, she went from kind of being a sick skeptic listening to my stories going, huh,
it was
to, oh, you weren't
yeah.
joking about all this stuff.
And I went back home and was telling my grandparents about it, but they just acted like, so you really saw Big, like they were kind of like, not how I was, but like they were just like, you saw Bigfoot? Like really? Like, where's your photograph? And I was like, look, it was at night, it was dark, and I'm telling them that, like everything that we saw, and they're just kind of like, okay, listening, but it's just kind of, yeah, I guess I know, um, I just like wish that they could have been there like we were, I just wish like every skeptic could like just, see what we're seeing, that way they could just see the same thing,
Right, that's how I
like
always
I
feel is
did.
when I tell people who think I'm crazy, I'm like, just come in with me to Oklahoma for like 2 nights,
Right.
just in case one's quiet. You got to be there for like 2 nights. Like, just once you see what I'm talking about, you're going to be like, oh, you're right. Like, maybe one day I'll get to interview my friend Ted. He was kind of the same way, but when I brought him there and he, heard howls, the rock that was thrown at us, like, went right past him too. And yeah, he went from, skeptic to, oh my goodness, this stuff is real fast.
It
So
does exist.
it does exist. So yeah, there you have it. I think we're gonna wrap up because we're busy today, and of course, I live in near Dallas, and it's a nice cold day, so
Yeah.
very excited about that. 34 degrees in Texas. What are you talking about?
Time to bundle up and put my scarf and boots on.
Boots. Yeah. So yeah, this is something I might do every once in a while as a podcast. Kind of talk about different experiences or talk with someone who's come there and they can say from their mouths, not just me saying, hey, I brought this friend there and they think it's real now, that you can hear from their own mouths. Also, we might do some podcasts on some Bigfoot stories that have been told over the years. I have a book. It's called the Bigfoot Encyclopedia, and it's basically an encyclopedia of sightings and what happened. And there's some really bizarre stuff in there, like a lady who's like, "Oh, I Bigfoot stepped out of the woods and talked to me telepathically," and some weird stuff. So I
This is kind of weird.
definitely, probably in the future, have some discussions about some of these stories and their merits, and what I believe versus what's said here. So definitely have that up in the future. Hopefully, I'm hoping to go to Oklahoma maybe once or twice before the end of April. I am actually going to be in Alaska for a few months, and I thought to myself, maybe I could do some squatching in Alaska. It'd be nice to kind of move from Oklahoma to Alaska for some content on the channel. But then I go, yeah, there's really big animals out there, unlike
Right.
Oklahoma. I don't have to worry about grizzly bears or moose or,
But
anything
maybe you
else.
might meet people who have seen Bigfoot out there. Maybe you could interview some locals.
Possibly.
You
Unless
never know.
locals think I'm crazy. So, anyways, we'll wrap this up. Appreciate you guys for listening, and yeah,
Thank you, Travis.
yeah, keep squatching.